Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the City Commission conference meeting this November 15th, 2022. Before we begin anything, I just want to take a moment and ask for a moment of silence with regard to an individual who was recently found murdered who worked for the city of Fort Lauderdale. Her name was Mimos Delcio. She was only 39 years old, and she worked for our Department of Sustainable Development. It's a very tragic situation, and there are suspects out there, but she was found missing several days ago, and today the Broward County Sheriff's Department found her body, and she is deceased. It is a true tragedy how violence still continues to exist in our community. I feel bad for the family and friends, and especially those also in our department here. So if we could just please have a moment of silence, I would appreciate that. Thank you. So before we begin, I want to talk a little bit about the election. There were 3 vacancies that resulted as a result of resignations that took place here on the City Commission. Those resignations took effect either the day before or the day of the past election, which left the 3 vacancies. And unfortunately, those resignations did not coincide with the County Supervisor of Elections timetable of receiving ballots. As it now stands, the Supervisor of Election is now still receiving ballots from overseas, and as of today's count, there are still 140 ballots that remain outstanding. So, since there are still ballots remaining outstanding, the Supervisor of Election has not certified any of the results in any of the 3 elections that we had undergone this past election season. So the commission is not in any position to swear anybody in, and regardless of the turnout or the difference in the vote between the different candidates, the Supervisor of Election has not certified any of the results. Is that my correct understanding, Mr. Boileau?
That's correct.
So we will at some point have that opportunity to swear candidates who had won, and unfortunately, it could not be today. I know there are a number of people who are here today, candidates, family members, friends, who anticipated having a joyous occasion this morning, as we all did too, to hopefully swear in the commissioners. We have a lot of business to take care of in the city. A lot of good things are happening. We want to continue that momentum, and we look forward to working with those who succeeded in their races to continue the business of the city. But as a result of the Supervisor of Election not certifying the results, we are kind of left without a full commission. So today, we are going to just have a conference meeting, which doesn't require any votes, not an official meeting. We will not be able to have tonight's meeting, so tonight's meeting is canceled. And we will wait until we have at least 3 members sitting on this dais to be able to conduct business of the city. Mr. Boileau, do you want to add anything to those comments?
No, I mean, I can answer any questions, but you covered it thoroughly.
Okay. So, in addition, it's been put in the news, and I also want to make it clear that once those certified results come in, we hopefully will be able to identify clear winners, and this will, even if the recount is required, we'll have to entertain that recount. Also, the city has received a challenge in District 1. There have been affidavits submitted by 2 of the candidates that ran in District 1. We're waiting for our city attorney's office to respond to those. And I guess at the next opportunity, we'll have a way to, I guess we're going to wait for your office. When did you receive those affidavits?
That was yesterday. So at some point when you have a quorum, the city commission will have to meet to discuss Under Section 304 of your charter, you are the arbiters of the election, as well as the qualification of your members. So at some point, that will have to be addressed. So once you're able to schedule a meeting to discuss that, then you can vet the veracity of whatever objections have been brought forward to you.
All right, so at this point, we're not going to discuss eligibility. We're just going to leave the affidavits as they are and wait till a commission is able to be convened to be able to respond to those. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. You would meet as a commission in order to discuss the allegations and the merits or lack of merits, whatever, and discuss that. And at some point, the city commission, it is within your jurisdiction and power under the charter to make those determinations. Should there be some legal proceeding that intervenes in that, we'll have to play it by ear. But currently, you would have to address that at a separate meeting.
Okay, so from this point forward, your office, or nor the auditor's office or the city manager's office, is going to review these allegations or have any opinion on them until the city commission would direct you?
Correct. And even at that point, it's not so much, it's really, it's not something that we independently investigate. It's something that, they'll have to bring forth and make their case. And then the candidate will have the opportunity to rebut that. And again, it'll be to your pleasure as to what evidence you're taking. It'll be sort of in a quasi-judicial setting. And then at that point, if you have sufficient information, you'll be able to make a determination. If you need more, then that's something you'll have to dictate.
So let's see if I understand this correctly. And Commissioner Glassman, please make sure you understand this correctly too. So this issue will be brought up at a future commission meeting, and this commission, who will then be sworn in, would then sit in a quasi-judicial capacity to determine the factual basis of these allegations and whether or not they are sufficient to be able to determine eligibility of the candidate in District 1. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, and that would essentially go hand in hand, if you recall from previous elections, even though the canvassing, the counting of votes and ballots actually occurs with the county canvassing board, again, you're still the arbiter of the election and qualifications. Typically what we've done in other elections is provide you with once the results are certified by the canvassing board, you're presented with a resolution which essentially accepts the results and then declares the election. So that would be the appropriate time probably to do that. Typically, we can do that in really short terms. Here, a little unique, we had a storm and it was the midterm elections, so there's a bit of a delay. But potentially the next meeting, schedule that resolution to be brought forth, and that would be a good time to also determine the eligibility of, or to deal with the actual objections that have been filed.
Okay, so at that time, it's Mr. Herbst's candidacy that's being, or election that's being disputed, so Mr. Herbst would be able to make his case and have people representing him participate in making
Certainly.
that case. So we would have basically a hearing for the
Certainly,
most part.
yes.
Okay. And
We want to, the precedent behind that is obviously we want to afford everyone due process, so they would have the ability, obviously, to rebut whatever allegations are made.
Okay, and would the people making the allegations, Mr. Keachel and Mr. Williams, would they be able to also make their case at that time?
Correct, because the city won't be putting forth anything. We're not a party to this. We would not be in a position or even want to be in a position to prosecute this. It's not coming from us, it's coming from them.
Right.
So they're essentially coming before you as a board in a quasi-judicial manner to present their case, and then there'll be a rebuttal to that case, and based on the evidence you hear, you'll make a determination.
So in that case, the rules have always been that if something comes before us in a quasi-judicial capacity, neither myself or Commissioner Glassman are allowed to really talk to people in advance to get information. We have to wait until the evidence is presented in front of the commission. Does that also hold true for the candidates who are awaiting to be certified?
As in whether they can communicate?
Whether they can communicate with anybody with regard to
Well,
something that they
you're
may
talking
be
about
giving
the other
opinion?
commissioners, District 3 and District 4?
Right.
Right. They, once you become a commissioner-elect, you're covered under Sunshine Law. So that would apply as well, first and foremost. Sunshine Law applies. So obviously, even today, could not have communications with District 1 or you, for example. With regards to the quasi-judicial matter, potentially, again, that would apply to them, because if they are sitting on the dais, you are going to be the judges of the facts applied to the law, so they too should not be obtaining information or having any sort of meetings to get information apart from the evidence that you'll be hearing on the whatever day is chosen to hear the evidence.
So even even though they're not yet sworn in, they're still subject to the Sunshine Law, correct?
They're subject to the Sunshine Law, and again, the formalities of the certification aside, they will be the ones, in all likelihood, sitting here and judging the facts, so they will be acting in that quasi-judicial manner. So they should refrain from discussing that with anyone or telegraphing any position they may have in regards to what the outcome may be before having heard the evidence and the facts and the law.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering what our timeline is for all of this, only because next week is Thanksgiving. People might be traveling. We're scheduled to meet again, I think, after today, December 6th is our next meeting?
December 6th.
So are we talking about waiting until December 6th for swearing-ins, for this hearing? What is the timeline going forward for all of these things that you've just explained need to happen?
To some extent, that'll be up to the city manager and yourselves. I mean, we don't have to. The first order of business is going to be, so Friday at 5 p.m. is the deadline for the overseas ballots to be received. So at some point after that, I presume the canvassing board is going to meet, possibly Monday. I doubt they'll do it Friday night. Maybe they'll meet Saturday, don't know. But shortly thereafter, I'm sure they're going to certify the election. Once the election is certified for at least 2 of the districts, you'll at that point have the ability to swear those commissioners in if you choose to do so. So a special meeting or a ceremony can be scheduled before December 6th. With regards to District 1, with the challenge, since that has to be sort of in a quasi-judicial manner, that should be set for a time certain at a public meeting. So probably the most logical thing would be to either have it on December 6th, which is your next scheduled meeting, for which the agenda hasn't published yet, or you'd have to call another special meeting in order to do that as well. So that would be up to you all. So I would first do the order of business with regards to swearing in your new members once the election's certified, and once that's done, then you all can decide as to when it would be appropriate. Typically, it would be the next meeting for us to bring you the resolution to declare the election. So from a time standpoint, that would kind of make sense, but that would be, to your discretion.
Now, just for a point of clarification, because I think the mayor mentioned 140 overseas ballots, but I think you said 140 just in District 4.
Just in District 4, so that's 140 is just in District 4.
That's important because that's the race that was the closest of the 3 races.
And that's the only issue when we're dealing with overseas ballots. So District 3, once it's certified, there's no issue. They were only, as of November 2nd, there were only 70 overseas ballots, which is well outside the margin of victory there. District 4 was the exception because I believe after the recount it was 49 votes. And then by 11:30 this morning, we confirmed with the Chief Deputy Supervisor, Ms. Hall, that there were 140 remaining for District 4 alone. So obviously, there remains that gap there. So that's really the only issue that we're dealing with District 4 with regards to overseas ballots.
Right, and typically because it is a holiday week next week, the supervisor of elections has to finish the counting of the overseas ballots by Friday, right, at 5
Friday,
o'clock?
5 p.m. Well, it's the receipt. They have until that time to receive them.
Receive them.
There's not an incredible amount that are outstanding, so I presume they can count them rather quickly. I don't want to put words or times in
Right.
their mouths, but I suspect they can do that in pretty short order.
And then do they transmit to us some sort of official document that actually states the vote totals, including all of those overseas ballots?
Typically, they do.
How long does that usually take?
I think it's very quickly. I mean, we've already received the actual signed results from the recount, but again, that doesn't take into account the overseas ballots.
Because I'm trying to just figure out if that's all Friday at 5, we could conceivably still wait Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, right, till we get that. And Thursday's already a holiday, so perhaps we're already looking at not swearing in people until the week after that, the week of the 29th, is it? 28th?
28th, yes. If I may, I just received public notice amended Broward County Canvassing Board, November 8th, 2022 general election. This is a document that has a schedule. On that schedule, it talks about Friday, November 18th, 2022, 9 a.m. to conclusion. It talks about tabulation of remaining overseas and military vote by mail ballots. It talks about certification of official election results by noon, November 20th. So by noon, November 20th, this is what this document from the Broward County Canvassing Board states.
So that's a Sunday, right?
November 20th is a Sunday.
So sometime, I mean, if we wanted to have a special meeting, we could do it the week of Thanksgiving, or we can do it afterwards.
Right, but before that would be swearing in, or at the same date, right, as if you wanted to have a special hearing. If you didn't want to wait till December 6th to do the hearing, to hear the case for District 1.
Well, the hearing, you want to give sufficient, that would be just next week. I think we'd want to give sufficient time
Right.
for the parties to
Prepare.
and for processes of due process, for purposes of due process, a little bit more notice, I think, would be appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Boileau? Anything
Not.
further? Okay. Anything further, Mr. Chavarria?
So we will be on standby, just to confirm. We'll be on standby until the commissioner-elects are sworn in order to do any further business with the commissioner-elects.
Okay, so the supervisor of election is going to certify the results by the 20th? And so, so the next day, by Monday, we'll know officially, okay? So on that day, we can swear, I mean, anytime after that day, we can swear in if we have a special meeting. We can swear in the new people.
And how many
And-
commissioners will we be swearing in?
Well, the maximum at that point would be 2,
2.
right?
Okay.
And again, there's obviously, there are formalities to, it's rather technical, the swearing in, and so the way the charter explains it is you receive these new members. So you have a meeting, so rather than just having them be sworn by the clerk, have a nice day, you're now commissioner, we actually have a meeting where you officially receive them as candidates. So you do want to have the swearing in, however formal or informal you have it, to be coinciding with some sort of meeting so that you can officially receive them.
And we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the 140 overseas ballots, but I would imagine that we have to wait and see if there's also perhaps even a challenge there, because we don't know what that, it could be a razor-thin number, and there could there or could there not be challenges after the supervisor of elections certifies the results?
Well, there's always, under state statute, on the 102, I believe 168, they have 10 days after certification, midnight, the day that the election is certified, they have 10 days to file something in circuit court. Typically, though, if we don't have knowledge of that at that time, it wouldn't necessarily prevent swearing in. Here, it's because we have knowledge prior to certification in District 1. So that's the nuance there. If once it's certified and there's no challenges, I think you're safe to go. If somebody within those 10 days wants to file something, that's not something we can necessarily
Right, but
avoid.
my point is that if either party has an opportunity within 10 days after certification, it seems that it would be prudent to wait for our swearing in till that 10-day period is over. Why would we want to move quickly and then all of a sudden we receive a challenge, and that would be
Well, that would be,
would it?
that would depart from our previous practices. I mean, in your elections in 2018 and in 2020 as well, again, there still was the possibility of a challenge. Same rules applied, same statute applied, but we proceeded with the city's business nonetheless. Obviously, we didn't have to deal with any challenges, but typically we don't wait the 10 days because it's just too long a gap. Again, here, we have a unique circumstances because we have 3 resignations and a resign to run. So instead of having the traditional smooth transition of power with the organizational meeting on the same day as the new commission. We didn't have that luxury here because the other three had to resign before the election. So we're in a unique situation here, and we have to sort of roll with the
Okay.
punches.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right, so let us begin the meeting. We have communications, we have the Historic Preservation Board. I wasn't quite sure what that communication meant. It's basically said that why don't we wait till the end of the meeting? We can certainly have public comment with regard to that. You want to talk about the election process?
It's in the course of a meeting, but it's not an agendized item. There's no business to conduct. And we wouldn't want to go too far astray into discussing it because this is something that you're going to deal with at a future time in a quasi-judicial manner. So I wouldn't want, it's kind of hard to control what folks may get into. And if we get into the merits or this or that, it's something that we should address at a later time and with a fuller commission. No offense intended, but with only two members versus having a quorum of a commission.
All right, so you're recommending that we do not have public comment on this issue yet?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
Okay.
You don't need a quorum for conference.
Yeah, this is not a meeting where we take votes, so that's why a quorum is not necessary. And so this is a meeting which we discuss various matters that between ourselves and city staff. And as you know, Mary, we've never really taken votes in all the years you've been participating in these meetings. So your protest is registered, but we're going to continue with what we're doing. On agenda items, correct. Right. It's not an agenda item, so therefore we don't take public comment, something that you should be very familiar with.
Order. I just want to think of Robert's Rules of Order that anything that is brought up in the meeting, although it doesn't have to be voted on because obviously you don't have a quorum, that you do have to have Robert's Rules of Order, you have to take public.
We
Okay.
haven't adopted Robert's Rules of Order, so we don't follow them.
Yeah, what is?
Yeah, we should not have commentary coming from.
Okay, all right.
No, there's no public comment on this. Okay, well, now you know.
Okay. Okay, let's continue. So, is there someone here from someone from city staff? Is Tricia Logan here? Yes, there you are.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioner Glassman, Tricia Logan, Principal Urban Planner. This communication is from the Historic Preservation Board concerning the Wells Fargo building on South Andrews Avenue,
Okay,
which was sent as a commission memo in January of this year, alerting the commission that the property had been identified as a potential historic landmark, and we had received a redevelopment application to redevelop the property, which would demolish the structure that's there and then build a new bank in its place. And so there's been back and forth discussion over the months, and in October, the representatives of the project came before the Historic Preservation Board to present the redevelopment of the property and incorporated a few elements that would pay homage to the historic structure or the potential historic structure on the site into the new development. And the Historic Preservation Board is sending this communication to the commission to advise you that they were satisfied with what was proposed and what was presented in front of them.
but they're still of the opinion that the building can be demolished, providing there's, including, what does it say, undulating design, historic photos, and a plaque
Yes, they understand that the building would be demolished, and they were satisfied with the proposal that would address some of the implementations that were outlined within a recent communication that was sent, or commission memo that was sent to the commission, as well as within their communication to you, which includes a wave-like design, which is present on the existing building. They would incorporate that into the new development and the new building. A historic photos within the lobby of the new structure, and a plaque on the exterior of the new building.
Okay, great. You have any questions?
I did. I just had some comments, actually. I read through the minutes, and I tend to actually agree with one of my appointees on the board, Arthur Marcus, who did not agree with the consensus of this board. And I do think that because of the fact that it was identified as a possible historic structure, I know that if there is a demolition permit that's applied for, the city commission does have an option to sort of step in at that moment in time.
Correct. We have that in our historic preservation ordinance when there is a threat to a potential historic property, that the commission could ask for a stop work order and proceed with an emergency meeting to discuss the possibility of designating that structure.
Right. I actually do believe that this property is very much worthy of historic designation. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could wait until we have a quorum to discuss it. Obviously, we can't do that now. But I just wanted to just put on the record that I do agree with the objections from one of my appointees on the board for this structure. And I think actually we should have seen an application for this this building. Thank you.
Well, it's not really before the commission yet anyway, right?
Excuse me?
It's the site plan is not before the commission right now. But
Correct.
So there's really no commission action that needs to be taken. It's just letting us know their opinion
Correct.
once it comes to us. Okay.
Correct. But I guess, was there any appetite at all on the Historic Preservation Board to actually go forward with an application on this property?
They did not have a full discussion on that at their last meeting where this was discussed on the October 17th agenda. When they did send a communication to the City Commission, I believe in May, concerning the possibility of designation, as well as the request to have a representative come before the Historic Preservation Board to discuss the project. But they didn't further that discussion.
Okay. And I remember that because that's when it first came to our attention, when they brought it to our attention saying they think that we should consider that kind of an application for the property. But I understand.
Okay.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Trish. The next communication we have is from the Northwest CRA. Motion made by Mr. Calhoun to request the Board of the CRA Commissioners to reconsider the Sistrunk View project. Now, if I recall correctly, I had voted against it. I believe you voted against it. And my understanding is the only way an item can be brought back up is if it's requested by a commissioner that had voted for it. And so none of those commissioners are here anymore. Right, Mr. Barlow?
Correct. So for the matter to be reconsidered, it would have to be a member or person of the prevailing side that would have to bring it back.
Right, so it would have to be resubmitted all over again.
Oh, right. I mean, it wouldn't be a reconsideration. It would have to be. Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, going on to old business, business one, discussion of red light camera program. Mr. Chavarria. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have that here? Rhoda? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It got messed up on my papers here.
That's all right. I just have a statement that I prepared. Your CRA Advisory Board, Northwest, Flagler, and Progresso Heights, has concern about the CRA Board of Commissioners not approving the Sistrunk View project and is requesting reconsideration of this project. This is one of 3 proposals reviewed by the Evaluation Committee following the procurement procedures of the city. The advisory board had requested to inquire as to whether a member of the advisory board could be included as part of the evaluation committee, and that request was granted. I, as chair for the advisory board, was asked to serve on the evaluation committee. At the end of the review of all the presentations, the Sistrunk View project was ranked number 1. With the need for affordable housing in the area, this project included an outline of the ranges for income required for residents and would provide for a diversity of income for residents. It would allow the possibility of current residents in the area qualifying, as well as possibly encouraging those that have moved to other areas to return to Sistrunk to assist in gaining a viable community. At the state of the city, affordable housing was one of the goals outlined. It is important that more affordable housing be available in the Sistrunk area. This project also provided additional financial benefit to the city, square footage for businesses on the first level, and access to public transportation. After this project was recommended to the advisory board by the evaluation committee, and after discussion at the advisory board meeting, it was recommended that the Sistrunk View project be recommended for approval and forwarded to the CRA board with that recommendation. At the October 11th, 2022 meeting, at the request of the advisory board, Mr. Woods discussed the funding request denied by the CRA board. The advisory board discussed this further, and afterwards a motion was made requesting the CRA Board of Commissioners to reconsider the Sistrunk View project, and that the minutes of the meeting accompanied the request. You have received that information as part of your agenda packet. Therefore, again, the advisory board is requesting that this project be reconsidered by the CRA Board of Commissioners and approved so that the city may move forward with additional needed housing that will accommodate a diversity of income levels.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're here, even though you're a member of the CRA board, that's what you've indicated on your request to speak. You're not here on behalf of the board, you're here on your own behalf, correct?
I'm here on behalf of the board.
Oh, you're representing the board.
Based upon the motion that was made at the October 22nd meeting, I am here on behalf of the board.
Okay, all right.
And as a member of the CRA board, just for your information, I did not vote for that item because I was part of the evaluation committee.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Did anyone else want to speak on that item? I apologize for not having seen it here. Okay, moving on to business 2, city pilot programs update. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So we have the police department with the presentation, and they're going to talk about the red light
All right.
camera.
Passed over business 1, red light program.
Yeah, the red light camera program. So, police chief and staff.
Hello, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioner. We have a brief presentation. Essentially, it's just a historical review of where we were with the cameras. And then if there's any questions, we can address that. Chief Swisher was here then when it was ongoing, so I asked Chief Swisher to prepare this one.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Commissioner, just to give you a little bit of historical, we started the program back in July of 2010. We started off with 6 cameras in different intersections throughout the city. By March of 2015, we had 32 cameras throughout the city in different intersections. In March 5th of 2015, due to some legal actions, the program was halted, and it was stopped at that point with the City of Fort Lauderdale versus Welsh case. I have Brad Weissman here from Legal can expound on that if you'd like. Just in giving you a little bit of background, there was a study done in 2014 on the red light cameras by the Florida Legislature's Office of Program Policy Analysis and Government Accountability. It found that statewide, the crashes had a differing effect as far as the effectiveness of the red light cameras. Although there was a decrease with the traffic signal citations, decreased by 19%, those resulting fatalities decreased by 49%. They did have an increase in the number of angle crashes. They differentiated angle crashes, increased by 22% at red light camera intersections, and rear end crashes also increased statewide by 35%. And in that study, Dade and Broward County in particular were up in the north of 70% in those numbers. So although it did have an impact on obviously our fatalities, it did increase some of our accidents in some of our intersections. So currently when we had it up and running, we had 5 PSAs and we had 1 sergeant assigned to that unit. That was their full-time responsibility. They were housed inside the police department. Obviously, since then, the program being folded, those PSAs have been reassigned elsewhere, doing other responsibilities, as well as a sergeant. I know this is being looked at and considered. If we are looking at bringing this forward, there are going to be considerable things we're going to have to move forward as far as staffing, finding location for those folks to be able to operate out of.
So are you saying that the red light camera program has mixed results in terms of its effectiveness in trying to deter crashes or fatalities? I'm trying to figure out, I mean, you gave us a lot of statistics, but what's your bottom line here?
That's what the study pretty much, when you read the study, which is part of the backup, that's what came out of it, that it was had mixed results.
Well, I mean, clearly, if we have a red light camera program and people are educated as to the existence of it, and people don't run through red lights, we're more than likely to save lives and save the number of people who would be involved in crashes, right? We have a terrible record in Broward County, in particular Fort Lauderdale, for pedestrian deaths, and I'm very concerned about I personally am concerned about what efforts we can make as a city to try to prevent those. So what you're telling us is that the red light camera program may have mixed results, but just, looking at it theoretically, I would think that it would have some impact in, people stopping when they're supposed to rather than running through red lights. I see people going through red lights all the time, and with impunity. Is that the norm now, that people just think if they can look both ways or not even look both ways and just run a red light, that, that's okay in Fort Lauderdale? There's got to be some kind of incentive where people, should not be, running through red lights. They should be respecting the light system. Are there any recommendations from your department as to steps forward? What are the best practices in other communities? If you're not prepared to answer that, I understand, but this was brought up today mainly at my request to see, where we can try to, mitigate the significant number of pedestrian fatalities we have here in Fort Lauderdale.
Right. Well, we're continuing with a number of grants that either have been or will be before the commission for enhanced enforcement, particularly relating to pedestrian deaths. We've added to the number of motorcycle officers that we have for doing traffic enforcement. And I think we're moving in the right direction from the enforcement standpoint, absent the red light camera. So, and I can certainly make it clear that this is a priority for the city, for the commission, and see what we can do to increase that.
Well, okay, so that brings up another question about, street side solicitations. I still see them happening, and same people, same days, same intersections. I just encourage you to continue more aggressively in trying to mitigate that practice.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Glassman?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as I read through the backup, the data is very, wishy-washy on results, as has already been stated. Plus, in the last year of the program, we were spending more than $500,000 than we were receiving from fines. There's always been so much litigation. Where does that stand, Alan? Do you know statewide, with all of the litigation that's happened with red light camera programs?
That's all been resolved in favor of the red light cameras.
Okay, and do we know how many cities in Broward or even the entire state that have red light camera programs?
No, I know Davie does. I think Hollywood does. They're obviously not as many as there were, but for the entire county or the state, I don't know.
And do we know how those cities are doing?
Well, in regards to, it's hard to tell depending on the size of the city. I haven't heard anything incredibly negative, but some fare better than others financially. But from a statistical standpoint, with regards to reduction of accidents, I don't know.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we've gotten rid of all of the cameras that we used to have?
From what I understand, yes, and I would just inform that Davie and Sunrise are the only cities with the red light cameras right now. Pines was the largest, but they stopped the program.
So just Davie and Sunrise left, so Hollywood's not even still in the mix. So just Davie and Sunrise,
That's what I understand.
and what did we have, about 30-something cameras?
32.
32 cameras, and they're all gone, right?
My understanding is
Still
there were
an invoice due on them, too.
Okay, so we would have to
Yes.
figure out how to purchase 32 more cameras. We know from the backup that personnel alone is over $700,000 to start up the program. I don't know, I'm just not convinced yet with the data from the program in the past, and then what it would cost us to reinstate the program. I don't know if I'd much rather see us be able to step up enforcement with our force, but I don't know. I'm just not convinced with the program.
Well, we should probably bring this up again when we have a full commission.
Definitely. Although it's always nice to just talk to you, Mayor.
Okay,
It's always
thank
a pleasure. But I agree with you. I think that we should probably have this conversation with a full commission. Yes.
All right, well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, business 2, city pilot programs update, and we have 2 people signed up to speak, but Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
Yes, so we have 2 pilot programs that we'd like to report on. These programs have been very efficient and provided great delivery on services. And we have Mr. Ben Rogers and Lisa Agathon. They're going to talk about those 2 programs because they are programs that are partially funded, and we're looking at how we can expand those for the entire fiscal year.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioner. Ben Rogers, Director of Transportation Mobility. So as the city manager was alluding to, in 2022, both of these projects were as a result of the commission priorities to mitigate traffic and transportation and homelessness. So we want to provide a brief update and talk about potential next steps. So the 2 programs that we're going to talk about is the Transportation Circulator and the Housing Navigation Program. And both of these, again, were approved in FY22, and they're partially funded for this year. The first one, which I will talk about, and then I'll turn it over to Luisa to talk about the housing initiative, is the Transportation Circulator Services Program. And we procured a vendor called Circuit, the electric carts that you might have seen going around town. And we have 2 different service areas. We've got one downtown, which is a ride-hailing service. It picks you up from point A and takes you to point B. And out on the beach, we had one that was connecting all the parking lots together to try to get people from the parking locations to their destination. The downtown service has 6 vehicles, and we funded about $260,000 for a 6-month pilot. And out on the Barrier Island, there's 2 vehicles servicing at $90,000. Here's just a quick screenshot on the ridership. As you can see, we started this at the end of August, and the ridership almost doubled from July to October. So it's been heavily utilized. I've heard a lot of positive feedback and people asking if we can expand the service to other areas. On the right side of this screen, you can see the key pickup and drop-off destinations. So potential next steps, as we said, the pilot will be expiring in February of 2023. So if we look at the downtown service area, we would need to identify funding, probably somewhere around $300,000 to finish the fiscal year. We'd have to start planning for next year if we want to keep this as an ongoing service. Our initial cost estimates would be somewhere around $600,000 per year for the downtown service, and that's with the existing number of vehicles and the existing boundaries. So if there's a will to expand either one of those costs could go up as well. And then we've also been working with Brightline. They have their own service, and we've been leveraging the opportunities of using their carts during their downtime and providing them with some of our carts during our downtime. So we've been hand in hand with Brightline on that. On the Barrier Island, it's parking fund. So if we decide that we want to keep this service in place, we'd have to look at selling or reallocating the trams that were previously servicing that area. Again, identify funding to finish the fiscal year. Plan for next year are probably $225,000. Again, that's with the current conditions and the current parameters in place. And then also look at increasing the service delivery during special events. I know Commissioner Glassman's brought up numerous times about congestion on the Barrier Island during special events. We've also talked to some others, and there could be some other pots of money, such as a bid or other funding mechanisms that could even enhance that service delivery more. The second pilot program that we're looking at exploring right now is we're talking with the Florida Department of Transportation. We do have some grant funds and trying to get a pilot program launched in the CRA Northwest area. So we've met with FDOT and we are finalizing that. If we get their approval, then we'll be going through a procurement process sometime in the next month or two. And that would allow us to go through the end of next fiscal year. So we've got a lot on there. I'll pause there before I turn to Lisa to see if there's any feedback or comments on Circuit.
I do, Mayor. I heard some comments after my pre-agenda meeting last evening with the district.
Sure.
So, Ben, I've heard people have really appreciated this program. The negative product that I've heard from folks is reliability. They feel that sometimes they get a lot of mixed messages, like we'll be there in X amount of minutes, and then that changes, and it changes again. And they think also because sometimes it's not worked out to the point where the routes are the most efficient, that folks might have to just be waiting too long, or people that are picked up with other people, they're not really sure about the route. Are we able to make sure that moving forward, we're able to just be more efficient with the way the routes are run, and also the app itself in terms of, you know, how people are communicated with?
Yeah, so on the Barrier Island, we originally had a fixed route, which was highly inefficient. And so we've actually been making modifications out there with Circuit. So it's becoming more of a ride-hailing service rather than just an ongoing loop. They've made us aware and noticed that the ridership numbers exceed capacity right now. With the pilot program, we only have 6 vehicles, and so the demand's out there. I think that's what causes some of the backlogs and maybe the time existence. Circuit is here if you want to ask them any operational questions.
Also, what is the main goal of Circuit? Are we trying to alleviate traffic on some of our major roadways? Are we appealing to visitors to our area, to a nice way to get around? And do we have a defined goal in terms of what it is we're trying actually to accomplish with this program?
Yeah, I think what we did for this pilot program is threw a wide net out there, right? And we want to kind of figure out how the ridership reacts. I do think it's twofold. My personal goal is during the peak of the day to eliminate in-town to in-town trips. So to get a vehicle off the street that's going from here to Louis Bossi or from here out to the Barrier Island, mitigate the number of vehicles. Also, you can get a lot of carpooling or ridership into one cart on one route. And then also out on the Barrier Island, as we talked about, I do think that there's a lot of tourists that are using it. So one of the benefits of this is Circuit has a great back end that's collecting all this data, and they can aggregate it and disseminate it, mine it to give us the feedback that we need.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
And this is a free service, right?
It's free to the rider, yes.
Yeah, and people can tip the driver if they wish, but it's basically a free service offered by the city, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Louisa?
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioner. Louisa Agathon, Neighbor Support Division of the City Manager's Office. And I am here to share with you more about the Housing Navigation Program. The Housing Navigation Program was our latest strategy to help address homelessness in the city. And the program was launched in July in partnership with the Police Homeless Outreach Team, Neighbor Support, and the Task Force for Ending Homeless. It's a unique partnership between the three of us. And the goal is to provide street outreach or field outreach, complete intake assessments, and then also provide housing services to homeless people. There are three main things that I want to highlight from this program that are of importance. One is that we implemented this program in an effort to address a top priority for the City Commission, homelessness and housing opportunities. And two is, as a result of this program, we are better equipped to help address our chronically homeless. This means homeless individuals who have been homeless for at least a year and have a chronic condition, meaning mental health, substance abuse, or either a physical or mental disabling condition. And then three is, through our partnership with Task Force, we really do have the staff members that are able to connect us with and build relationship with a hard-to-reach homeless population. So we're able to provide those housing services with their efforts. And then they also help us walk through the whole process with our homeless individuals. So they walk them from getting an ID to setting up medical appointments to find them a home. So those are three unique aspects of the program. And just to highlight a success story of this program, back in July when we started, we were working with a young man out that was mostly out on the beach. We identified him through the police department. Erica from Task Force was able to engage with him, get him to open up more and build that relationship with him. We got him to come to community court. At community court, he received a haircut. He got a shower and we were able to send him to a detox program. He was there for 2 weeks and then was medically discharged. Erica went back and re-engaged with him, and we were able to find out more about his family. His family was in California. We reached out to an aunt, connected with the mother, and through their efforts, we were able to reunite the family back in California. So another way that we're highlighting the success of the program is through numbers. And with the assistance of the police department and community input, we identified a core group of 20 individuals. And out of this core of 20 individuals, 60% of them, or 12 individuals, have been linked to housing services. And these can range from shelter to referral to housing, permanent housing, reunification, and drug and mental health treatment. One thing that I do want to highlight is we continue to engage with the remaining 8 individuals as part of our cohort. If they continue to decline, then we have other individuals who we've identified, and we can continue to or engage them to be part of our new group of 20. And as far as next steps, hopefully with the approval of the City Commission, we like to continue the housing navigation program. It would cost us approximately $160,000 annually. Our efforts, again, I know Mayor, you highlighted this last time, to continue to encourage our neighbors to register as a landlord with the county's Project Home Again program. We would, with your feedback, Commissioner Glassman, we would also be launching educational sessions to our neighborhoods along with Task Force to educate them about the different efforts that the city is doing to help address homelessness. And then lastly, we are looking to, and are already doing with Task Force, how do we address hotspots or encampments in the city, and also long-term housing solutions. So with that, I'll turn it over to you if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Have any questions, Commissioner Glassman?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for the work. This is really such important work. This is an issue that we've struggled with for decades in the city. It's just a tough one, but I do so appreciate the work of everyone on this, and also the task force. Let me ask you, Louisa, what do you think? I mean, how many beds do you think we're actually short in our city in terms of really trying to find a place for everyone to be indoors?
So if we go by just the latest point in time numbers, so 2022 in Fort Lauderdale, it's about 400 people who are registered as on shelter. Just one point of time in the year.
And that obviously to me that's the first step, is getting people a place to be indoors. I think it's just great, the services that we are providing, especially with community court, and the fact that we give people an opportunity to have a shower and a haircut and all of the wraparound services. I so wish that every municipality in Broward County did what Fort Lauderdale did, because then I think that we'd be able to even take a bigger bite out of the problem. But it seems like the county is in it and we're in it, and it's just going to be up to us too. So it's an interesting phenomenon, but I just again wanted to say thank you to everyone that's working on this, because I do think that we're making progress. But as I said, this is just it's a tough issue. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, you said around 400, and we've only been able to find housing for 12?
We're only working with a cohort of 20. So I think the success of the program is that we are working with a small group of people.
Okay, so what's the plan for the rest of them?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Mayor, I can assist in that. So I think right now we have an opportunity with the Continuum of Care board. I think that board is a very important board at a regional level. They provide priority for funding, for resources. This program that Luisa demonstrated or shared as a pilot is our way of expanding specifically here in the city of Fort Lauderdale. The county provides task force for homeless as a service 2 days a week. We needed more than that. So this pilot program expands that to 5 additional days. I think that if we can have nominations, perhaps from some of the elected officials, to serve on the Continuum of Care board, that can appropriate priority resources, funding, so that we can expand more specifically here. Additionally, we have a meeting scheduled, I believe, the 29th of November with Sheriff Tony to discuss how we can expand further on the sheltering option. There is a facility called the Stockade that hasn't been used for some time. It would be very prudent to consider how that can become a facility to transition those that are experiencing homelessness, and consider what options there are to enable that. We look forward to seeing how we can expand at a regional level. But again, this program was our way of expanding, and Luisa shared some of that success. And we feel that that we can expand more. But again, a county level effort would be required.
Okay, well, obviously we need to have further conversations. I sat on that Continuum of Care board, and it's just an advisory board to the county Board of County Commissioners. So hopefully over the years, their voice has become more accepted by the county commission than it has in the past. As a result of the departure of Vice Mayor Sorensen, we no longer have someone representing us on that board. So hopefully when we have new commissioners, we'll be able to find someone to represent the city. Is Jenny Morehone here? Yeah, there you are, Jenny. And Steve Cook.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioner. Here to represent the DDA as well as co-chair of the Downtown Coalition and express both agencies' support for extending the Circuit Pilot Program. Cities of the future are really moving from central business districts to central connectivity districts, and downtown Fort Lauderdale has grown by almost 50% in population over the past 5 years, now 25,000 residents. We're on track to surpass 1 million visitors to downtown this year, and we see foot traffic of nearly 2.7 million people a year on our retail corridors. We've been averaging 15% over the national average for employees returned to the office. We believe all of these great, long-anticipated metrics that support the vibrancy of downtown is partially attributed to being a compact, connected urban center. And so by continuing to have these micro-mobility services, I think the ridership numbers that you see demonstrate that people not only want, but really need some way to easily move around downtown, both by foot, of course, but through these micro on-demand services. There is a need to make them more readily available, to have the certainty for that on-demand service that people want. And I think the investments that DDA has made in partnership with the city over the years on transit has really shown that it's now the time to keep investing in these micro-mobility services. So we look forward to your continued support on this program once the pilot ends. We appreciate, continuing to think of innovative transportation solution options to really keep downtown on the move. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Stephen Cook. I had trouble trying to figure out these graphs. So Mr. Rogers just said this was for 3 months, but this shows for 10 months. And I'm assuming the ridership increase in October would be the boat show. I'm also wondering why this is coming out of the general fund as opposed to the sales tax for transportation.
Well, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, as they say.
Okay. Well, the cost to the residents, because the service is only available for downtown and the beach.
It's a pilot program.
I get it. But this is asking for funding for $825,000 for 12 months. And if you do the numbers, that comes out to $14.24 per person for a ride and $29.08 per trip. So if I'm in Fat Village and I want to go have a drink with my buddy in Himmershey, the city's going to pay almost $30 to get me there one way. So I don't see your bang for your buck. And as not a resident of downtown, I also feel that this is just a service for moving people around downtown and possibly that want to go to the beach. Downtown is walkable. It's not as if you can't walk from Himmershey to Fat Village. So at the cost of almost $30 per trip out the general fund, I just don't see our bang for the buck.
All right, thank you. You have any questions, Commissioner Glassman?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mayor.
Any further comment, Mr. Chevarria?
No, I just want to ask Ben Rogers to explain his graph if you'd like. And also we want to compute those numbers and make sure that they're accurate.
Yeah, so the graphs represent the circuit services in Fort Lauderdale. They were doing their own service, independent of the city service. They have service with Brightline as well. But our pilot project didn't start until the end of August 2022. So you can see a vast difference in the ridership once we provided support for the program and offered additional services.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, moving on to business 3. I think we're going to have to pass on that right now. It's until we have a commission, we can talk about that. And I have no one else to speak on any of the other items, so business 4, if you can give us a fire station and fire rescue facilities update.
Sure. Now, Mr. Allen Dodd is going to talk about that.
This is the backup? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioner. What I'm going to be doing is giving you an overview of several of the fire station and fire rescue facilities that we are currently working on, as well as just a recap of the fire rescue bond program. This was a program that was initiated in the early 2000s. It's been going on for over 18 years now, and we're getting very close to being able to sunset the Blue Ribbon Committee once we finish the final station. So I'd like to start, though, talking about some of the bigger challenges that we have been having. And you are very aware that Fire Station 54 HVAC systems has been having issues for a few years now. And just to go over the history of it, the building itself was completed in late 2018 and occupied in February of 2019. Soon after it was occupied, they started having issues with the air conditioning system, condensation, and mold problems. And there was a lot of actions that happened up until July 2021, when the city made the decision to relocate the staff out of that facility and put them back into the temporary fire station, which is where they are still located at. And I do have to say that as we've been doing the investigation as to why it was not operating properly, we are working with the city attorney's office to see if there's any recourse with the people who were involved with that original design. And that's something that we could probably talk separately about, is how we're continuing to go after that. But really focusing now on what we have done since that relocation is give you a timeline for going through and completing an assessment where we determined that we needed to really replace the entire HVAC system and redesign the ductwork inside the building. We finished the design in January of 2021, worked with procurement to go out and do a solicitation for someone to install the system. And separately, we procured the equipment, knowing it was going to be very long lead time to get these units, and saw it as the fastest way to get the building renovated and back in service. So we did award a contract in April or in August of this year, but due to some problems with the language in the contract, we were unable to execute it, and we ended up last month rejecting bids and going back out. So what we plan to do now is we've already got it back out for solicitation. Those bids will close on November 30th of this year. We'll award the contract December and give a notice to proceed in January of 2023. We should have that equipment that we will have on hand installed by May of 2023, at which time we'll be able to allow the fire department to move back into that station.
Alan, where are we with regards to seeking compensation for what went wrong? I mean, how much responsibility here is the city's, or how much responsibility is the vendor for the installation of the HVAC system? And what are we doing about it?
Which Alan?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Dodd at the podium. I'm sorry.
We have collected up all the records. We did have a meeting with the attorney's office and an outside attorney to look at it. It gets a little complicated because we had an original design. There was some value engineering that occurred where they modified the design. And so trying to determine if there was defects in the design, latent deficiencies, if it was improperly designed, and whose responsibility was it when we accepted those changes. That's something that we're working through to determine what recourse is available. And Alan, you may tell me if I explained that properly.
No, that's absolutely correct. We met with outside counsel, I want to say 2 weeks ago, and there's a lot of material to go through, but as Mr. Dodd indicated, it was an original design that was redesigned after value engineering, and there was acceptance of certain terms and redesigns by the city. So we want to make sure that we're in a good position, and to the extent we can reclaim anything, we will, whether it be the architect, the contractors, whoever may be responsible. There's just a lot of materials to go through.
So according to the document in front of us, so that's $902,000 and change. Is that roughly what we actually spent the first go-around on the system?
Well, the first building was $5.9 million for the total thing. I don't have the breakdown.
But I mean just the HVAC.
I don't know what the breakdown of how much the HVAC was as part of that. And part of that $900,000 is the redesign, plus also the, it's more difficult, more expensive to pull a system out of an existing building than installing it when it's all open and still in construction.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. This really is very concerning because this is not the first time we built a fire station. We built a half a dozen of them over the years. And this is a significant cost, $1 million to mitigate the issue, mitigate the problem, and to find a solution. And, I can't believe that the architect and the contractor would come back at us and say, oh, well, you accepted the design, so therefore it's your fault. I know we're going to go through litigation. I know there's going to be ultimate resolution of this, but clearly, the city has been taken here, and for I can't hear this. The substantial completion was in September of 2018, and now you're looking at maybe getting back into it 5 years later. That is horrific. So all I can say is this is something that should not be perpetrated on the people of our community, and I hope that going forward, our next fire station, our new fire station, which we're about to talk about, Fire Station 13, we got to be very, very careful about accepting, allowing warranties to expire, and not holding these vendors with whom we deal to be responsible for things that are perpetrated upon the city. This is ridiculous. So anyway, proceed.
Yes, Mayor. So now I will go to the new station. This is Fire Station 13. This is out on the beach near Sunrise Boulevard. We actually initiated design in June of 2020. The original cost, when we go back to the fire bond, was supposed to be around $4.5 million. 18 years later, those prices have gone up significantly, which impacted the design and also required us to go and do a significant budget amendment last year to add on several $1 million more to the cost on it. We're approximately 60% through the design right now. We do have to make some changes in the requirements for the consultant dealing with platinum requirements. Also, we did a more in-depth look at the HVAC systems, and we're changing the type of air conditioning to make sure that we don't have issues like we've had with the other system, and that it really will be properly designed for the environment so close to the beach. As far as also, we'll be doing a lot of resilience improvements so that it can be occupied during extreme weather events and allow them to be in the second story of the building. So we anticipate being completed with the design in September of 2023. We'll go up for bids, and hopefully in January of 2024 is when we'll award the construction contract, with construction to be completed in April of 2025. And again, that will be the last of the 10 fire stations within the bond program.
Okay, it's a long time frame. So, all right. So the temporary station is going to be on Vistamar, I believe, right near the Bonnet House.
It's 11th Court, and actually the next slide has a picture of where the temporary station is located.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, on Vistamar.
Right. Okay.
And that's a whole nother story, Mayor, because that's a huge delay as well.
So in order for us to construct Fire Station 13, we do need to have a place to relocate those employees and to be able to demolish the existing building. So the plan was to move the temporary trailers for Fire Station 54 over to this site. We awarded a contract to do that. We began work, and it's approximately 70% complete. However, we had to stop because the trailers still are in use. And so when we finish Fire Station 54's HVAC repairs, we'll then move the firemen back into it. And then in August is when we'll relocate those trailers to the temporary site, and they'll be ready for occupation by November of 2023.
November of next year, 2023.
2023, yes. And what this is holding up, though, is there is a parking lot project associated with it that cannot be completed because the electrical and a lot of other components are integral to the trailers at their current place. So that's been holding up this project as well.
Okay.
Moving on, one of the newer projects that we do have outside of the fire bond, but equally as important, is the Emergency Medical Substation 88. And the plan for this is to purchase a prefab building that can be brought in and placed on site. So we're still working with procurement to develop the sole source solicitation document in order to buy that trailer that facility. In the same time, we're doing a solicitation document that will go out for a company to come in, prepare the site, do the necessary electrical, water, sewer, and then to install the facility when it arrives. We anticipate it's probably going to be a long lead time item to get it here, so we will award the contract in March of 2023, but probably will not be able to begin work until September of 2023. And then the facility will be available for occupation somewhere around February of 2024. And we are estimating about a $6,200,000 cost, but we haven't gone out for bidding yet, so those numbers will probably be adjusted once we get a firmer cost.
Any questions, Commissioner Glassman?
No.
Okay.
And the last facility that we want to talk about was temporary trailer facilities for ocean rescue. And what we are working through is getting some trailers from Myanmar we've been looking at, or other options that would be able to go in and put in a location right out near the beach. And you can see the approximate area in the picture would be. If we proceed on this path, we would be issuing the notice to proceed in April of 2023, and then completing it by the end of the year, by December of 2023. However, there's a note on the bottom, and the city manager may be able to talk about, we may have an offer for someone to provide those trailers and install them for the city in lieu of some other arrangements.
Yes, the Marine Industry Association has approached us that they are very interested in the Coast Guard facility that we own. It's a dilapidated building that requires repair. We're working to discuss an exchange of values, and where they can make use of the building, they can upgrade and rehab the building, and also provide us with a temporary ocean rescue trailer. And we're right now still in the discussions, but there is that interest. Should that not work through, then we have this project that Alan Dodd has planned out and already has budget allocated for it.
So in the meantime, we're setting up this prefab trailer at the Las Olas Bridge, right?
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
So Ocean Rescue would go back to the Coast Guard station then?
No, I'm sorry. So the Marine Industry Association would provide us with a trailer at this site in exchange to use the Coast Guard facility.
Okay, so this would be more permanent at what we're seeing here?
This temporary trailer, whether it's furnished by us or by the Marine Industry Association, would be temporary until the International Swimming Hall of Fame facility is fully developed.
And that's where the Ocean Rescue will be relocated?
For long term, yes. That will be their home.
All right. And has the Marine Industry Association indicated what they intend to use the Coast Guard facility for?
They have not.
Okay.
They already, they use the site during the boat show time.
Right.
And they want to expand that area. I'm not sure what purposes there are, but we would certainly bring that in front of the commission before we commit to any of that.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
And Mayor, the last thing we want to just provide was an overview of the fire bond program. The last slide captures all 10 fire stations with the cost on it. You can see that we did really good from 2008 to 2013. We had a gap appeared where not a whole lot was accomplished, but in 2018, we got these last 3 stations moving. So prices have gone up significantly. When you add up the total cost, it is significantly more than the $40 million that was originally programmed for it. But with this last station and the funding that we do have on hand, we should be able to bring the fire bond program to a closure.
So if you add up everything in the last column, what does that come to?
It's a little over $55 million.
$55 million. Okay.
And I should point out that some of that it's not fire money. There was some general purpose money or general fund money that was used for other things, roadway improvements, in order to make the facility. So the total cost was $40 million from the fire bond, and the rest came from other sources.
Okay, any questions?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Okay, so that completes the agenda items. We now have commission reports. Commissioner Glassman, do you have anything to report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It was a good couple of weeks, a lot of good activities throughout District 2. Victoria Park had its Civic Association meeting on the 3rd, November 3rd. Also, we had a really good meeting, and I wanted to thank Transportation and Mobility. We had a virtual project update with District 2 for the crosswalks on East Las Olas Boulevard. And also that evening, Mayor, you and I attended the GLBX Ally Awards at the Galleria Mall, and really nice event, and thank you everyone associated with that as well. Friday the 4th, it was nice. Our whole office, Erica and Ashley and I, we went and we attended the christening, the name ceremony for the brand new ship, the Beyond for Celebrity Cruises. Simone Biles is the godmother, and that was a really nicely attended event. Also that evening, I did attend the garden party at for Gail Butler in honor of all of her service over at Birch State Park. And that was a really nice event too. In between the incredible thunderstorms and downpours, we still managed to pull that event off. So congratulations to the Friends of Birch State Park, and of course to Gail for everything that she does for our community. Saturday, November 5th, a really neat little program over behind the Gateway Shopping Plaza, a Shade Plus Art project that was also dealing with helping the homeless in that area. And I wanted to thank everyone involved in that project as well, all of the new merchants and tenants for what they're doing. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but the Gateway Plaza is loaded with art and murals now. Jamie Sturgis from Native Realty has done a nice job getting everyone to buy into that. And the plaza looks really nice, and I think there's some really good plans to continue forward with that. Monday the 7th, Mayor, I saw you and we both participated in Christiana Lilly's book launch, 100 Things to Do in Fort Lauderdale Before You Die. Still love that title. But again, as I mentioned last time, I don't want to rush through that book too quickly. Of course, we had Election Day on Tuesday, November 8th. Wednesday, November 9th, I attended a board meeting for the International Swimming Hall of Fame. Thursday, the 10th, congratulations to the Historical Society for the History Makers event, celebrating Ted Drum. On the 11th, Mayor, I joined you at the city's Veterans Day event over at the Sandy Ninninger statue. It's always such a really wonderful ceremony. Thank you to everyone involved with that as well. That evening on the 12th, I attended the Broward Gala for Equality Florida, celebrating its silver anniversary. Well attended by over 500 folks. Really good program, and the important work that Equality Florida does. Coming up, we've got Flagler Village Civic Association on the 16th. That's tomorrow. Thursday the 17th is Light Up the Galt. On the 18th, I will be speaking and addressing the Beach Council from the Chamber of Commerce. This Saturday, we have the 7th annual Turkey and Grocery Giveaway at Sanctuary Church. We were supposed to do a proclamation this evening, so I just wanted to mention, Greg or Alan, will people be contacting everyone that was coming tonight for all of the proclamations and presentations? We're going to let everyone know not to arrive here tonight, because I was just mentioning that we were going to be doing one for the Turkey and Grocery Giveaway this Saturday. That begins at 9 a.m., and if I remember correctly from the last few years, people start lining up. The cars just go all the way up Federal, both directions, all the way to the beach, and that starts at around 6 a.m. Those cars line up. It's really quite amazing. Tuesday, November 22nd, we have Light Up the Beach at the Las Olas Oceanside Park, and then, of course, we will all give thanks on the 24th. That's about it for me, Mayor.
Okay, great, thank you. Just a few things I'd like to add to that. On November 3rd, I was able to attend the AIA Awards, the Architect Institute of America Awards ceremony here at the museum, and our new dive tower was nominated for an award. And congratulations to the city of Fort Lauderdale. We did win the award, and very proud of that. And thank you for the architects and the contractors who put that together. It's going to be an iconic image for years and years to come for the city of Fort Lauderdale. In addition to what the Historic Society did on November 10th, on November 11th, we dedicated a historic marker to the Dennison family at the Safe Harbor Lauderdale Marine Center, and was attended by quite a few people, and we were able to recognize the Dennison family for really starting the marine industry here in Fort Lauderdale with building Navy vessels during World War II, and then, of course, private yachts and individual boats for leisure craft thereafter for many, many years. So yes, there are a number of light-up festivities that will take place over the next several weeks. Unfortunately, we had to cancel one because of weather, because of the storm that was heading our way. So that has been rescheduled. Do you remember where this is Light Up?
Light Up Downtown?
Town? Yeah.
I don't know the date. I didn't know it was rescheduled.
I know it was just canceled.
It's just canceled altogether?
Yes.
So we're not going to light, it's going to stay in the dark. Okay.
There are other light up events.
There are other light-up events. Okay,
Yes.
well, we'll issue on their website the various light-up events that will take place over the next several weeks. So all I can say right now is I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll get this election stuff resolved in the next few weeks. It's an unfortunate way to begin, something that just was concluded at this election cycle, but we'll get back on track. The city has a lot of business to address, and I'm looking forward to working with all the new commissioners as we look into the next year and the year after. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report you'd like to make?
Yes, I do. So something I'd like to highlight is that we did advise the stakeholders that were coming tonight for the proclamations that tonight's meeting is canceled, so they are aware. There's also a temporary beach license outdoor event agreement that's happening on November 19th and 20th of this week. I've been advised by staff that I am able to approve administratively and bring back to the commission for full ratification. And one more, that we need to, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to announce, remind the audience that the CRA meeting is canceled for today.
Right, we're not going to be able to have a CRA meeting because there will not be a quorum of the CRA board. So we'll have to continue that until when the new commission is seated. And that's it?
That's all.
Okay. Mr. Boileau, do you have any further comments to make this meeting? Okay. Anything further, Commissioner Glassman?
I'm good, Mayor. I just want to also wish you and everyone as well a very happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We have so much to be thankful for in Fort Lauderdale. So
Great.
happy
This meeting is now
holiday.
concluded.